I'm in the screen. Should I check? Check. Oh, how can I check? Oh, God. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anissa. The channel is Delight Upon Delight, and this channel is all about creating interiors that serve you. You may have seen a lot of discussion at the moment on YouTube circulating the quiet luxury trend. I found that the discussion surrounding this has been so interesting because there's been some concerns about the intentions of the trend and the types of thinking that it's encouraging and celebrating. So that's why I found it super interesting. If you don't know what quiet luxury is, kudos to you for not knowing, because it means that you're not wasting your time learning about it. No, but stay because it's still super interesting. So if you've clicked on it, you're interested in it as much as I am. And if you don't know what it is, maybe you don't need to watch this video. Wow. I'm pretty sure that's not what you're supposed to say when you're trying to get people to watch your video. Whatever. So, what is quiet luxury? Let's define it together so that we're on the same page. I'm going to talk about the fashion definition for it because that's where it's really spawned. Then, what I'm going to do, oh my gosh, I didn't say what I was going to do. What I'm going to do is then talk about whether or not it exists in interiors. Has the trend creeped into interiors? How does it show up in interiors? That to me is super fascinating, and that's where I'm going to be sharing some of my perspectives on that. Let's define what quiet luxury is in fashion, because that's where this whole trend has come up. So I'm going to start off by showing you some fashion photos that emulate this trend, and then we'll get into the interior side of it. In fashion, quiet luxury basically means it's got a minimal aesthetic. It's a minimal, refined, I'd say kind of classic maybe look. And the difference between it and minimal dressing is that there is definitely a intrinsic value in the items, like a dollar value, like a cha-ching value. At face value, when you look at people who are decked out in this trend, you may not think anything. But the point is that actually the pieces that they might be wearing are upwards of $700, and you wouldn't know unless you know. So if you know, you know, right? So that's one part of it. The reason why it's kind of come about is a lot of people are saying, attributing it to this, show Succession. I think it's in its 4th season. I haven't watched it, so no spoilers in the comments for me. But people are saying it's because of that. It's because of other events that have occurred recently. You can look into that yourself on the internet. And then also because, we were looking at minimalism before, and then over the pandemic, and also because of concern for the environment, people have been more focused maybe on choosing clothing that they believe to be better quality, will last them longer, and therefore better for the environment, more minimal in terms of having a smaller closet. So there are those reasons why it's slowly developed. But then there has been these other trends which have come up recently, like the rich girl trend or the clean girl trend. Yes, these are actually things that exist. I'm going to keep putting photos up so you kind of get an idea of what I'm saying. This look is not something new, but the idea of it resurfacing and being popularized, that's what's new and what people are talking about. Okay, so if you wear this stuff, this is not a judgment on people's choices on what to wear. It's more of a exploration on what this means and how it plays out. On the flip side, this whole idea of buying something that is very well made, that is long lasting, whose production methodologies are more ethical, for example, or the quality of the product is better for your body or for your skin, whatever. Um, I yeah, I'm all for that. That's a great idea of why you may want to invest in something. Um, and this has become a really big thing since, this whole consumer environmental, there's been a lot of responsibility also put on the consumer to investigate and make decisions based on that. You may maybe investing in quality pieces that you keep for a longer period of time, as opposed to buying fast fashion and then chucking it out. Here is where my problem lies with this. If I'm going to buy $10, $50 pants, well, yeah, maybe I could buy a $750 pair of pants. One $750 pair of pants, and the cost per wear for that is going to work out incredibly, and my impact on the environment is much less. But if I then go out and buy 7 pairs of $750 pants versus somebody who buys 1 or 2 pieces of clothing from a fast fashion brand and repeatedly wears that, which one is better? I mean, this is a whole other topic. Oh my God, I divert. But this is so interesting to me. This whole conversation about being a conscious consumer and buying from specific brands. I mean, there is so much more to it. It's not black and white. And a lot of it has to do with our behaviors, which I think we are shifting back onto the companies. And the companies obviously have the people who are polluting the planet are the companies. Anyway, separate. Oh my gosh, I'm diverging. Let's not diverge, but that's an interesting topic. Let's look at how this might play out in interiors. Now, I have had a very personal experience on this recently, which is actually what spurred my want to make this video. I've been looking for a very simple, minimal looking table lamp or floor lamp next to my couch. I want it to be very simple. I want it to sort of have a juxtaposed look against the rest of the furniture I'm having in the room. I was looking at pictures on Pinterest and spaces which some of my favorite interior designers that resonate with my personal style have been making, and I spotted this lamp, which I'm looking for a lamp. So I spotted that lamp and it has that same. I said, oh, all of my Pinterest pictures have this style of lamp in them. And so I thought, okay, I'll reverse image search it and find this lamp. This looks like it fits in with what I would like to create in my space. I looked it up and the lamp is like $1,600. That's fine. I am not going to spend $1,600 on a lamp. I'm going to go look for it in secondhand marketplaces and just keep my eye out for a similar looking design. But here's where it got interesting. When I looked back then, once I knew how much that lamp cost, I looked back through images that I had pinned and people that like I said, my aesthetics align with their aesthetics in terms of interiors. And I saw this lamp everywhere. Like, I kid you not, it was everywhere. Maybe that's why I thought it would look good in my space to begin with. Okay, that's other psychology stuff, but it was everywhere. Now I know. I can't get that out of my head. And if I see new images where that lamp is there, am I then going to immediately think that that space has been designed interestingly or suits my aesthetic just because I know the value, the monetary value of that lamp? Is it going to make that person's taste in that space more valid for me? This is where I find this gets super interesting. Is it more valuable now, that person's work, because I now know what that thing is worth? I know it's not everybody can have that. It is a quiet luxury. I think the problem here lies in its extension into the validation of that person, or the validation of a creative expression. So is something now going to be viewed in a more positive light or be attributed with more value just because of the expense or the amount, the dollar amount of the piece that is being showed, the item that's being styled. So is someone who is wearing a white button down from Glassons, I don't know how you say it, which costs $30, if they're styling it like really, interesting, cool way, is the person who is styling that $700 shirt that we all know is $700, is that person going to get more validation from us because of the fact that it's a $700 shirt? Are we going to think that that person is more creative because we know that shirt is a $700 shirt? It's a little bit unattainable, and therefore, is it more stylish? It becomes problematic. It becomes problematic in all creative things where objects are used. So even in home decor. So is that space more valid because that item is in it, or does it garner more positive attention, or do we think to ourselves it's more creative because it has those specific items in it? I think that's where it starts to become quite problematic. That's one aspect of it. Another example of quiet luxury in interiors is because of vintage furniture. Right now, there is a incredibly everybody is really into introducing vintage furniture pieces into their homes, and I think it's brilliant. I think it looks incredible just seeing the mix of different eras in a space. It makes them super interesting. But what it has done is that it has pushed the price of vintage pieces and older furniture up, and has actually created this unattainability. So there are vintage pieces that are of furniture and accessories even that are in the tens of thousands of dollars. And so when we are looking at interiors that have mixed these vintage pieces in, and if you look at enough interior photographs or home tours or whatever it may be, we start to recognize these pieces, and we definitely know that there is a dollar value associated with them, which is in the luxury numbers. It is slightly or completely unattainable. Now, if I was going to show a bunch of spaces to my mother, and I said, which one do you like the best? She would pick probably the ones that are most close to her own personal style. There'll be spaces that she thinks are amazing because of her own personal style. Now, if you show someone like me who looks at a lot of interior photographs, the same set of photos, I may sway towards those which have these vintage pieces in them. Maybe not because it's my personal style, but because I know how difficult it is to own that piece of furniture. I know, forget about expense. It's just like, wow, that's a piece. Immediately, do I now think that that space looks better than another space that doesn't have those pieces in it? Think about it. Yes, these are the things that keep me up at night. I'm glad I can share them somewhere. Yeah. So this is an interesting one in interiors, especially right now. It's quiet luxury. It is, those interiors are whispering to us wealth. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, it might just look like a blob. My mum would be like, what is that? It looks like a blob with furry fabric on it. But I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is one that I think a lot of us have seen, and that's accessories like the Tom Ford book. I know that I think most people are no longer, are over it. I think apparently there's even a #2 Tom Ford book out. So this accessory, books can be very expensive. And so this accessory was used extensively several years ago, and then it starts popping up everywhere. And it is again, it's a whisper, right? It's like if you have this book and it's displayed in your interior space, that must mean that you have good taste. And immediately your space will look elevated because this book was originally featured in an unattainable space. And so we can afford this slice of it when we inject it into our homes. Does that make our home more well decorated, more pleasing? And I can see, like, I don't own the Tom Ford book. I think you should own books that about topics that you're interested in. I do own the AD, the Architectural Digest, I think not hottest, but 100, Architectural Digest 100 book, because I'm very interested in that. But that I can see that book also is having that Tom Ford moment. It's like popping up in every interior that is quite styled or designed. And yeah, again, interesting. Like, what is it telling you about that space? Is it trying to communicate something to you that because I have this book, then my space must be an elevated space? Interesting thing again to think about. Like I said, I'm not judging. I own that book, and I think on my Instagram I've even taken video with it. It's a beautiful book, but yeah, is it whispering? Is that a whispering of quiet luxury in our interiors? The next one I wanted to talk about was the third example in interiors, which I don't think is a bad thing, similar to what I was saying about the clothing, is investing in furniture pieces that have quality. The difference between furniture and clothing is that we, can amass clothing a little bit more easily than we can amass furniture. So that's great when it comes to this whole idea of quiet luxury. You can't buy like 15 couches, right? Or 25 coffee tables. They are expensive to begin with. They're quite expensive in comparison to, like, relative to clothing. And then also there is a big range in quality. And this is where that vintage thing comes back in. I think it's great if we can be more selective about what we choose based on quality, based on what we think will last, has got a timeless appeal to it. It has a timelessness, which means that you investing in that thing, it's going to last you a lot longer. I think that's maybe a good thing that we might see with this trend in interiors. I guess I don't have a clear answer on this. I don't have, this was just a bunch of opinions and thoughts that I had. I hope you found it interesting. I think my last 2 cents is quiet luxury can exist in a quiet form. I know that there are things that I think are quiet luxuries in my life. Like, I love having a silk pillowcase. It is not the cheapest thing, like for a single piece of fabric, but it brings, it's great for my skin, it's great for my hair. I enjoy sleeping on it for 8 hours or maybe 6 hours a night. So for me, that's a quiet luxury. Now it's not quite so much because now you all know, but there are things like that. I think art is another great quiet luxury. It doesn't have to be super expensive actually, but I think art is one where I feel like nobody knows how much a piece of art costs in your home. It could be from a thrift store, it could cost you thousands of dollars and no one knows. But the value that it brings into your life is worth having that thing. It doesn't have to be expensive, but yeah, that's, I think, a really nice quiet luxury. Another one for me is that I invested in a heavy duty art easel. That's not going to mean anything to anybody who doesn't paint with an easel, but it's a quiet luxury for me. It makes my life easier. It is beautiful to look at for me. So that's another one. So random. But my point here is quiet luxury, I think, is a very personal thing. It can be a very personal thing. It doesn't have to be something that everybody knows. Hence, it should be quiet. I feel like this trend should be called not so quiet luxury now, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I do trends videos similar to this, but I also am going to be showing you videos of actual me decorating inside the home and giving you tips on that as well. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you think about this trend, whether you've heard about this trend, if this is the first time you've heard about it, if you think it's ridiculous, whatever you think. I'd love to know. Like I said, it's just an interesting conversation to have and thing to think about. Anyway, have a great day. Bye.